10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to our DevExtreme video channel. With me is Gregory. Gregory, how are you?
Doing good, Don. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Today we're going to be talking, or you're going to be showing a couple of controls which are not like our flagship things like a data grid and charting and the big cool controls, but you're going to be talking about some smaller ones which even that they are not that big, they are very convenient and very nice to use, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, with today's stream, I thought we would just sort of go away from some of the things we've been doing recently, which is talking about, just those big products, which is like, like you mentioned, the data
Yeah.
grid and the scheduler and whatnot. And I thought it would be nice to sort of look at some of the stuff that we don't really talk about that much, but it's still important. And using these controls in your apps can make it a lot faster, a lot easier, and a lot just save countless hours of tinkering and all kinds of annoying problems. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great. And I guess that a lot of these controls are also in some sort of shape or embedded in like the more complex controls, right? Like if you're talking about a pop-up, that is the same technology which is used in the data grid when you go to pop-up editing, that kind of stuff. So it's basically our own building blocks as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the controls we're talking about today are stuff we see as part of integrated into other demos and other larger controls, but we can also use them as standalones, which is also
Yeah.
very helpful.
Cool. Well, let's surprise me. Let's show me the candy.
Yeah. So what I have here on my in my terminal, if I just list out the contents, or if I do a longer listing, we can see I just have a basic Angular app here, and I more or less just kind of went through the setup to install DevExtreme and all that stuff. I didn't want to do it over again. We've already done it a number of times. So I just decided to just, start out with a clean project. And I have this app just running already. And if we see here, it's just a white screen, and I have a simple button up here, which doesn't do anything right now. And so that's basically our starting point.
All right. Yeah, and I mean the whole how to get started on Angular, Vue, or React, we have that excellent documented on our website. So yeah, please feel free to check that out. It's just a step-by-step guide, and that will get you up and running with DevExtreme on pretty much all of the popular platforms, right?
Yep. And so yeah, so now I'll just open this project up, and just to note down here, I am using the material blue light theme,
All right.
and if we jump into our source folder, I have this assets folder here, and inside here I just have 4 images, and we're going to be needing them for a little bit later, and I just basically just saved some images off the internet. um,
Sure.
it's a little bit of a surprise for you, Don, but we'll get to
Um,
it soon.
Most of the times I love surprises, but yeah, looking forward.
So I'm just going to open up this app.component.html file here, and I'll also open up the TS file, and as we can see, they're basically just clean. In this file, I just have the button module imported here,
Yeah.
and in the HTML file, we just have the button there. So it just has the text property here, which just says click me, as we saw in this app right
Yep.
now. And if we notice, it does have the material theme applied. So if we click on a corner, we have that animation that goes from side to side. So
Yeah, that is just so nice. This
yeah,
is all these little effects are so excellent done by the team. That is, yeah, it looks just great.
yeah, and that's kind of one of the things I want to start off by mentioning, which is even something as basic as a button, like creating this kind of animation would take quite a while. And it's just really annoying to do this kind of advanced CSS, and it just takes a long time. And having buttons like this that you can just add, because every website has buttons, no matter which site you go to, pretty much they all have buttons. And having consistent button theming across the entire site is very important. Now, if you use sort of CSS frameworks and whatnot, like Bootstrap or Tailwind, you can kind of create your own, and you can have it consistent across your project. But this is, of course, much faster, much easier, and it's in line with the material theme to begin with. So
Yeah.
yeah, just one of those nice little advantages we have by using DevExtreme.
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea on how to get that going in CSS, but yeah, that is a bit of work, I can assure you. To get like the left and the right effect, depending on where the mouse is and that kind of stuff. That is, yeah, it's a bit of work.
Yeah, so one of the things I want to start off with is by showing uh, one of these components that we don't really see that much, that's not particularly used in many demos that we have, but I think it's a really important one and a really cool one, and that is our progress bar. So
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and import our DX progress bar module here. And I'll add it to our imports down there. And with our progress bar, it is very simple to use. I'm just going to add a line break here, just so we can separate things out. And with our progress bar, we can have it so it's, of course, changing based on different events and all that. But just for now, I'm just going to create the progress bar. There's a property called value, and I'm just going to hard code it to 60. And I'm just going to give it a simple inline style here with a width of, let's just say 80%.
Yeah. Or you
And
can even make it a bit smaller in pixel or whatever. Or you're gonna put it in the middle.
yeah, I'm just going to put in the middle. And that's really it. And if we jump back, we can see that progress bar is now on the screen. And it seems, very simple, but the progress bar can really be sort of expanded. And there's a lot we can do with the progress bar. For example, if I jump over to our website and I go into our demos and I go to our progress bar here, give this a second to load, we can see what we've done here in this demo is we have a button
Oh yeah.
and it loads based on a timer. And we can obviously set this to pretty much anything, where here in the demo, we have this right here where it's the value is max value minus seconds. And if we jump into the TypeScript file, we can see the various variables here. And we have this on click.
Yeah, maybe it's better By the way, Gregory, to switch over to the light theme, I think it's better readable on.
There we go.
Yeah,
Is that a little bit better?
yeah,
Yeah. This is about as big as it gets.
yeah. No, but this is fine.
Yeah, it's okay. And yeah, so this is just a simple example of what you can do with the progress bar. So yeah, we can, stop it and start it again, and it changes
Yeah,
color when it's done. So that's just one of those cool little things we can do. Uh, so this is basically it. So I don't know if anyone can see that, but when I refresh the page, there is also an animation. So that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
but that's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's really quick, but that's just
Yeah,
another example of those small little touches. But yeah, I mean, the progress bar is, it can be very useful. It just depends on the situation. I just thought I'd mention that because I haven't really found a use for it in the demos that I've done. So I thought it'd be interesting just to show everyone what that's all about.
yeah, but I mean these days, I mean obviously in the past, back in the day, so to say, it was very difficult to do any kind of progress when you would do callbacks to the server or whatever. But I mean these days, you'll get data from the server like any second, and there are like forward and backward calls, and with that you can actually use the progress bar quite a bit. But yeah, that's back in the day it wasn't even possible to do something. But for now, yeah, it's good possible to have some progress going on. So yeah,
Yeah, so I'll just add another line break there. Again, it's not what we should be doing, but it's fine. Um, so the other thing I wanted to show off is something called the resizable component. So the resizable component is exactly what it says, which is it allows us to resize things. And so what I'm gonna do is import first the data grid module, and I'm just gonna use it as an example. And the resizable, and of course in a real app we'd put all these imports in the same line because they're all coming from
yeah,
the same place. I've just separated out just so I think it's a little bit easier to read, hopefully.
yeah,
But we could all, of course we can change it however we want. But I'll just add these imports really quick. And if we here, let's actually do a quick little test. So let's try this. So let's say we have a orders array. Let's see if Copilot can
generate something.
generate something. Let's see if what it does here. I don't know. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and copy and paste some stuff then. It looks like Copilot doesn't want to cooperate with me today. That's okay. Like as usual, the moment you want to work, it doesn't. Anyway, so I
Yeah,
just had this
not a
simple,
telegram.
yeah, I just got this simple little array here, which we're just going to use as our data for the data grid. Nothing too fancy. We've talked about the data grid, for many streams. But the resizable, so it's going to be DX resizable. And I'll just save that quickly. And for the DX resizable in here, I'm just going to say min height. And we also have a min width property. but just for now, I'm just going to set it to 100. And we also have this property called keep aspect ratio. So that's very cool. So
Yeah.
when we resize different elements on our site, it, of course, stays the same. And that can be very helpful. Um, what I found is basically we could use this resizable for some really interesting things on, say, like a front, like a, I don't know, customer facing site, where it's not as much a internal site kind of theme where everything should be kind of interactive, and we want everyone, that visits the site to sort of say, wow, this is so immersive, I guess. So people are interested in the dynamics of the site, which makes them stay on the site, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's going into some more, I guess, complicated UI design kind of stuff, but all that stuff makes a difference. And inside this resizable, I'm just going to create a data grid in here. And for the data source, I'm going to just set it to that orders that we had. And I'm going to set the key expression to order ID. And I'm going to say show borders is true. And Copilot just threw in a bunch of stuff in there that I don't need. And so we can just leave it like that. And if we jump back to our app here, we can see we have this grid in here. And again, it's just our basic grid. However, when we hover over the edges, we can see that our cursor changes.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we can resize these the data grid.
That is quite cool. I have seen this control actually only once on the demo side, I guess. I've never used it, but I mean, I need to find some purpose to get using it. It's cool. Yeah. And it's so easy.
Yeah, it's a really great control, and it's has some uses, I guess, and you don't really see it that often. That's what I like about it, is that it's just unique. Like we just don't really get to see this kind of control that often. And what I like about it too is that it is just like all our other controls, which is very customizable. As you can see here, I didn't really do any customization. I just sort of left it in stock form, where when we hover, we kind of just get the change in cursor. It doesn't really tell us that it's resizable in any kind of way. But
No.
on our site, we actually have a demo, which I'll show right now. And this demo, as we can see here, we have these little round buttons. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see.
Oh yeah. Like the
Yeah, and that's,
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. And if we go down, we can see this is a lot of it is just CSS.
Yeah.
So we just kind of went in and modified the CSS a bit to show these little dots around. And so, we can also do stuff like that where we can modify it, change it however we want. And so that's just another cool little way we can customize these things. And if we go to the resizable, again, we just have some simple stuff. We have this thing called handles. And handles is, and this area here, this is where we're gonna modify it to have those little buttons.
Yeah, because those handles obviously needs to have some events attached, so that's why you need to specify them. Obviously, yeah.
Also, it would be really cool too. What we can do also is we can make it so if we click on the content inside, we can have it so it appears sort of like it is in like Word or something. And then if we click outside, it'll disappear.
Oh
That
yeah.
might be a more complicated implementation, but that would also be very cool. So you can create your own kind of editor almost. So that would be pretty
Yeah.
interesting to see too.
Nice one.
Yeah. So there's our resizable, and this is just another one of those little things that we don't really see, but it's very cool. So now what I want to talk about is, again, something I haven't used yet, which is our popover. So the popover is
Yeah.
sort of like a little tooltip almost, which is again very customizable. And I'm going to put it inside a div. And I'm just going to create an H4 here. And in here, I'm going to create a span with an ID of subject1. And I'm going to say DX popover inside there, just like that. And under here, I'm going to say parenthesis A ID is link1, and I'm just going to say details. And I'm going to go ahead and import that popover. The DX popover module, just like that. And that is all we need from there. I'll just add that import again. And inside here, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and say DX popover. And the target is going to be that link1. So it's going to be that A tag.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the show event is going to be mouse enter. So if we just hover over it, it's going to show the popover. And hide event is going to be mouse leave. And we can just open that up for now. And what we can also do is just add a width of, let's say 300 for now. That should be fine. And actually this needs the brackets around it. And inside the popover, I'm going to say div DX template let data equals model of content, just like that. And inside here, I'm just going to give it a p tag and say, and we'll just let Copilot do whatever it's going to do. And that is about it for the popover. So let's take a look, and we can see it here. So I just made that the H4 tag here. So this is kind of big text.
Yep.
But as we go over it, we can sort of just see that popover show
yeah.
up. again, if you can see, we have that scroll bar on the side because it's just kind of the big screen, the zoomed in screen. So
Yeah.
we can also have it so it can be scrolled. But of course, because I set it so it disappears when I stop hovering over it, I
Yeah,
obviously
so
can't go
scrolling
over
will
it
be a
like
bit of
that.
an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I could change that, but um, I kind of like it like this because most people, when they see something like this, like a blue text, they'll assume it's a link.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it so it's on the mouse over rather than on the click. But yeah, so just a cool little thing we can do. And again, it's just another one of those things that is rather complicated to implement, and we make it really easy. So yeah, have you ever used
Nice.
this one before, Don?
Yeah, I've used it before, and these days, obviously, we also have a similar one for Blazor, so I have been playing around with that one as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I remember seeing that. Yeah, especially with our next release, a lot of the Blazor controls are definitely going to be a lot more similar to the JavaScript controls.
yeah, there is a lot of interesting stuff being developed, and yeah, really looking forward to that release. I've already been beta testing it, and I had some discussions with the team about it, and yeah, they're doing a good job. It's gonna be interesting, and it's not gonna be that long anymore before it's out. So
Yeah, it should be pretty soon. And everyone can go and test it, especially on the JavaScript side. You
oh
can just
yeah,
download it and try it out. You don't really have to make an account or anything. So that's always nice and easy. Um,
yeah, you can test it out
yeah,
on our demo site as well without even npming anything at all. I mean, you can just change the code and see what it does on the demo site, which is a nice feature. So yeah, and for our Blazor controls as well, obviously, you can just download it, test it out for 30 days, and decide whether it is for you.
so
All right.
basically,
So
what I wanted to show next is just the DX switch module. So the DX switch is exactly what it says, which is just a switch, but again, it's one of those things that's just a real pain to implement. And I thought it'd be cool just to highlight it here because I really haven't used it in any of the things I've built. And it's very useful. And most websites have them, particularly sites that are very mobile oriented.
is that a bit like a checkbox, but then like a toggle switch, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. This is obviously a really cool touch UI interface element, but it looks cool on the website as well.
I don't know what Copilot is thinking about these on text, off text things they just added in there. I mean, that we don't have
Yeah.
that, but whatever. It's funny. He just decides that we have all these different attributes that we don't have once in a while. I always think that's
Yeah.
kind of
That
funny.
is kind of strange. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So we just have this switch down here. So it is literally just a switch. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a silly thing to sort of highlight, but I just think it's such a nice implementation and it's so annoying to do by hand that it's just really
Well,
nice to
especially
see.
especially if you check out that little semi-transparent ring around it when you like touch it with the mouse. I mean, you
Yeah.
see this effect. It's just it looks sharp. I
Yeah.
mean,
Again, for touch enabled devices, this is a big thing, which is
yeah,
sort of to see what you've touched, that kind of thing. Again, in
yeah,
line with the material theme, like on the regular Android phone, like this is exactly how the switches look. So that's always fun little thing that we can do. Um, if we look here at this disabled property here,
Oh yeah.
if I set this to true, what's going to happen is, I mean, it's almost impossible to see here. It's
Yeah.
basically just grayed out down here.
And
So
it doesn't work anymore, obviously.
yeah, so it is just disabled. So this is another cool little thing. So if we're creating, let's say, a lot of forms, like let's say if we have some kind of a doctor's office or something like that, where there's just lots of forms, or if we have like a terms of service kind of toggle, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
this can be very helpful, and we can just disable it. So let's say if you don't select the top one, like the first terms of service document, whatever, then you can't click the second one yet, or something like that. So it's just a cool little feature that we can just add a little extra things to our site instead of having like notifications that say, oh, you didn't click this button or something like that. We
Yeah.
always have seen those forms that it's you enter in all your information and you click the button and you forgot something because there's some tiny
Yeah.
little checkbox or something. This is just a nice little reminder to users, another one of those nice UI features that can be used to sort of differentiate websites between the competition, really.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So and that was easy to implement.
Yeah, so what I want to do next is um, a while back I was making this site that was sort of I guess a real estate oriented kind of site that I was working on. And for this site, I was, what you see in those kinds of sites always is slideshows, right?
Yep.
Where you have images, or even if you're on like Amazon or eBay or something, they always have
Yep.
those images that you could swipe through. So one of the things that we have is basically that gallery view, and we
As
have
a
it.
matter of fact, I have done one of the Blazor streams about incorporating that exact gallery into a Blazor component to have like a gallery in Blazor.
Yeah,
So
that
I know
was
exactly what you're talking about.
for the DX hotels, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was what, like a month ago or so?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a couple of
Yeah.
weeks back. Yeah.
So basically, what I thought we would do is just see how we would use that in Angular. And
Yeah, that will be interesting.
yeah, and it's just going to be our DX gallery module. And I'll import it there. So what I'm going to need to do is I need to create a service. So for this app.service file, it's going to be relatively simple, where all I have is this array here of strings, which is just this asset slash image.jpg. I added a PNG in here as well, just so we can see that it works
Oh
in
yeah.
different types. And I just have it in the assets folder. I mean, the assets folder that just builds with any Angular project, really. And of course, the assets folder is defined in our angular.json file here. A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
times with images in Angular, what happens, at least for me, is I forget to add the path in here. And I sort of am like scratching my head, like, why aren't these images loading? And it's just because I forgot it to put it here in the assets section of this angular.json file. So yeah, that's just a little thing I thought I'd mention just because I always forget that. But anyway, so essentially we're just returning that uh, images string here, this array, and we're just going to import that service quickly. I'm just going to import the service there. and I'm going to put it in the providers here just so it works. And I'm going to need to create a constructor. And I'm just going to get that, get those images string and put it into this images member variable right here. And that's pretty much all it takes for that. And down in here, I am going to define our DX gallery just like this. And I'm going to say data source is images, and the height, that is correct. And I'm not going to add a width because we don't need it for now. And I'm going to say loop is true. And what this is going to do is we can just sort of loop through our images continuously. It won't stop at one end or the other. And I'm going to say show nav buttons is true. So this is just little arrow buttons on the sides, and we'll see what that looks like in a second. And we'll say show indicator is true as well. And we won't add a slide, or we'll go ahead and add a delay, why not? And we'll add stretch images as well. We don't need an initial index because it will default to 1. So I'm not going to define that. And I'm going to give it a style with a max width of, we'll stick to 500 pixels, and we'll center it as well. And I'll go ahead and save that. Sorry if anyone can't see that. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to see. It's just that auto formatting that just gets in the way sometimes. And there's our gallery.
There it is. And I see something which looks quite familiar. I do have to say that I'm not in Amsterdam right now, but I'm in Rotterdam instead. But yeah, beautiful city.
Yeah, I basically just looked it up and said got some pictures, saved them, and put it in there just so we can see. I assume that there would be some kind of rivalry between Amsterdam and Rotterdam. That's why I decided not to put Rotterdam, just to mess with you. But
Yeah, well,
not too bad.
typically you just missed the best part because the Rotterdam soccer team got like a trophy. So they, and the Amsterdam one didn't. So that's always a bit of an issue here. But for
Yeah.
the rest, no, and I'm not even native from Rotterdam, so I couldn't care less.
Nice. And we had, so the slideshow, I set it to the 2-second delay, so it's going pretty quick.
Yeah.
We can get rid of that. Just like that. And so we can kind of see it without that annoying slideshow effect. And
Yeah, so you have to tick it yourself.
yeah, and going back and forth is nice and easy. What we can also do is we can modify, say, like a title over this. So when we switch to different images, it can show the title of the image. We can do that as well. And I believe we have a demo that sort of shows how to do that too. So that's a cool little feature we
Yeah,
have.
there's a template for that. I can tell you firsthand because I had to dig out how that all the features for the gallery to get it to work into Blazor, and I needed something like a tooltip or like a little banner with some information on there. So yeah, there is a template for that. I can assure you that you can fill and that it will put it on top of the image.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just about it for the gallery. So again, the gallery is just very useful. I've used it myself many times just because it's one of those things that pretty much every front-facing website is gonna want some kind of image carousel so we can see, whatever it is. Even one idea I had, so if we remember, I made that DX Cloud demo app,
Yeah.
and at the bottom of the homepage, I had this little thing where I just had DevExpress logos, but the idea was that to simulate having like our partners or our sponsors, that kind of thing. What we
Yeah.
could have done is have that gallery and just cycle through logos, and we could not have the navigation buttons.
Yeah.
And if a user went to it, it would just be cycling as they're on the page. And so just a little bit more of that kind of animated look that we expect to see with more modern sites.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a cool little idea of something we can do.
And I guess what you can even do is that normally it will auto slide, but it doesn't show the navigation buttons and the indicator on the bottom. But once you hover over with the mouse, you can turn them on, obviously, and they'll appear. So that's stuff that is not too difficult to implement with the gallery.
Yeah, it's definitely not too bad. So
Cool.
just to end, one of the things I want to show is our context menu.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And the context menu, again, not that used, and we don't really highlight it much, and it's kind of a shame because it is very cool.
Yeah.
And this is going to be coming from DevExtreme Angular /UI /context menu. And I just need to specify that because I'm also going to be adding the context menu types, and I just need that for in a on-click event. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to import our notify control. And this is basically just a toast. And
right. Yeah.
this is coming directly from the DevExtreme library, not DevExtreme Angular. And that's just because this isn't actually an Angular component. This is just regular JavaScript. So it's just slightly different. But I'm going to create a variable here called items. And it's going to be a type of a record. And it's going to be any and unknown. And it is going to be an array. And I'm just going to set it here in the constructor. So it's going to be this dot items equals. And I'm going to give it a, so each of these items in the context menu is going to have a text.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just going to say share. And inside here, I'm actually going to create a sort of like an expanded menu. So I'm going to say another items, and I'm going to give it an array. And in here, I'm going to say, and it's getting it right. So it's going to be text, and it's just going to be like, say, like share it to social media, that kind of thing. So something like that. And just after this brace here, I'm going to add another one. And this is fine for our purposes. We can just say that save, that's fine. Something like that. And we can sort of just see where we're going with this.
Yep.
And I forgot that comma there. And before we jump back, I'm just going to come in here and create a quick function called item click. And it's going to take in the item data. And it's going to be a type of DX context menu types. And it's going to be an item click event. And I'm going to get rid of this return type. And in here, I'm going to say if item data, if not item data dot items notify, and it filled it out for me. And this is just going to be our notify. I'm just going to pass in what I wanted to say in the the first parameter here. And the second one, I'm just going to say the type of the notify. So it's going to be a success type. So basically just going to be green for success. We can also say like error or something else, or leave it blank as well. And this is just going to be the time in milliseconds that's going to be on the screen for. And I think previously I've used the notify before as well for a login form, I think. And in that case, I added some more customization to it. So if anyone's interested, it was part of that DX Cloud series, one of the early streams, I think. So if anyone's interested, you can look at that, or we have, of course, documentation all about it. One thing in our demos, we see this line here where I have if item data. I added this here just because I was getting an error with just this internal if.
Okay.
So just, a weird little TypeScript quirk. There was no real problem. It was just a TypeScript error. So by adding this external if, it sort of just cleans it up and it says, if item data, and obviously there's going to be item data if it's passed in. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's just one of those little quirks. Either way, it works. So if we just jump back to our HTML here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of those images I have before, just so we can see, just have something to click on. We can also just use text as well, but I thought an image might be a little bit more practical. I'm just going to say image. I'm just going to give an ID of image, very creative. I'm going to give it a quick style of a width of, let's say 400 pixels. And I'm going to give it a source of assets / image1.jpg, just like this. And this is just going to be an image. So it's not going to do anything now, of course. If we scroll down, this is just that first image. And of course, if we click on it, nothing happens. But down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say DX context menu, and the data source is going to be that items variable that we created, which has, that thing that says share and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to give it a width of 200. And the target is going to be the image. So basically just going to say that it's, image ID there. And of course I have, it's called image up there.
Oh, so yeah, that will be the trigger point basically.
Yeah, exactly. And in here, finally, I need to specify that on item click function. So I'm going to say on item click equals item click, and I'm going to pass in the event just like this. Hopefully everyone can see that. And it's giving me some kind of error. Not sure why.
Isn't that because of that item click with the parameter behind it?
No, I think I must have misnamed something. I don't know. I wonder what that problem is.
Item click.
Type event is not prime. Okay. Another one of these weird Angular issues. Let me see what I did wrong here.
Oh yeah, I have to import that.
Did I not import something?
I don't see anything imported in the component, but
Oh, that's right. You're
could be
right.
me. Context. The M from menu should be capitalized.
There we go. My bad.
Hey. Yay.
Sorry to everyone watching. I'm kind of sleep deprived right now.
Well, we
My bad.
fixed it. So no big deal.
Anyway, so what happened now is if we right click, so let's say if I right click up here, of course we get the regular Chrome menu. If I right click here, we get our custom context menu. And of
Cool.
course, on the share here, we get these options that we specified. Let's say I click on this Twitter, we get that little toast down there. And we, of course, get that, whatever name it is. So if you can see how it says Facebook down there. And that's, again, just because in this item click function, we passed in this item data here. And the text is what's passed in here. So basically, we can just pass in, let's say if we had like pretty much anything in here, we could pass it in and have it be displayed. So let's say we had some other property in here, we could pass that in as well. It'll just be, dot whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's always very cool. And again, very customizable. But yeah, it's always really cool that we can sort of just do these kinds of quick little things. And again, just big time saver. There are many websites that have functionality like this. Like, of course, we have this, I added this where it says save. In a lot of cases, we probably would want to be able to save various assets on our site. So, of course, if you go to like Google or something, if you right click on stuff, usually it has a different context menu depending on what you click on. We could basically implement that as well on our own site. It can be very helpful. So yeah, just another one of those little, what I like to call the lesser known components, which are just the ones that we don't really highlight that much. They're not the big ticket items, the schedulers and grids and that kind of stuff. The stuff that sort of gets overlooked once in a while, but it's still very important. And basically the main takeaway, I suppose, from this stream is with DevExtreme, you get the big components, but we also provide a lot of these small little things that make it much easier to make really dynamic sites that, of course, are themed nicely, very consistent, and can really speed up development across, not just, those big kind of internal dashboard sites or BI sites, that kind of stuff, but even the front end, a homepage of a website, that sort of thing. So that just about wraps it up for today.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I guess, if people want to see more of these controls, feel free to check out. Maybe you can show our demo site a bit with all those demos, all the controls that we have. Well, that's it for this stream. Next week, well, keep an eye on the agenda, but next week on Tuesday, it's me and Amanda doing some Blazor stuff. We're going to start with some new topic as well. And probably next week later, Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to be back with Gregory and we're going to do some more DevExtreme probably. So yeah, thank you for watching and see you on the next one.